Captain Jake Miller stood on the bridge of the Meridian and stared at the massive space station ahead. It was bigger than any city on Earth. The station spun slowly in the darkness, surrounded by hundreds of alien ships. Their colors and shapes were strange and frightening. "First time seeing the Galactic Council Station, Captain?" asked Lieutenant Sarah Brown from her seat at the controls. Jake nodded. "Hard to believe we're really here." He touched the communication device on his collar. "Admiral Carter, we're approaching the station now." Admiral Lisa Carter's voice came through clearly. "Good work, Jake. Remember, we're here to make friends, not enemies. Keep our weapons powered down." "Yes, ma'am." Jake looked at his crew. They were all nervous, but excited. After 50 years of wondering if humans were alone in the universe, they now knew the truth. The galaxy was full of life. And today, Earth would meet its neighbors for the first time. The space station was called Haven Point. It floated near a huge gas giant with purple and gold clouds. The station had 3 main sections that looked like wheels connected by long metal arms. Ships from dozens of different worlds docked at the outer rings. "Incoming message from the station," reported Communications Officer Tony Garcia. "They're giving us docking instructions." Jake watched as alien ships moved around them. Some looked like metal insects with many legs. Others were smooth and round like eggs. A few had spikes and weapons that made Jake's stomach turn. The human ships looked small and plain next to them. The Meridian and her escort ships found their assigned docking area. As they approached, Jake could see alien beings working on the station through the windows. Some had too many arms. Others had skin like rocks or metal. A few looked like they were made of liquid. "Remember your training," Jake told his crew as they prepared to dock. "We represent all of humanity today. Be polite, be respectful, and don't stare too much at our hosts." The docking process went smoothly. Soon, Jake and Admiral Carter were walking through the station's corridors with a small team of diplomats and scientists. The artificial gravity felt strange, and the air smelled of metal and ozone. Their guide was a tall, thin alien with blue skin and forearms. He called himself Coordinator Zix. "Welcome to Haven Point, humans," he said in perfect English. "The Council is eager to meet your species." They passed through several security checkpoints. Each one had guards from different alien races. Jake noticed that all of them carried weapons, big weapons. The message was clear. This was not a place for the weak. The council chamber was enormous. It could hold thousands of beings. 3 groups sat in the center on raised platforms. Admiral Carter had studied them during the long journey from Earth. The first group was the Vorthik Empire. They looked like giant lizards walking on 2 legs. Their scales were dark green or black, and they wore armor covered in spikes. Their leader, Warprime Gazak, was nearly 8 feet tall. Scars covered his face and arms. The second group was the Zentari Collective. They appeared almost human, but their skin was pale gray, and their eyes were solid black. They showed no emotion at all. They wore simple white robes and moved like robots. Logic Core Prime 7 spoke for them. The third group was the hegemony of Krell. They were shorter than humans, but much wider. Their skin looked like brown leather, and they had small, cruel eyes. Gold rings covered their fingers and arms. Trade Master Vex counted coins while the meeting began. "So," rumbled Warprime Gazak, "these are the famous humans we have heard about. You look weak, small. What weapons do you bring to show your strength?" Admiral Carter stepped forward. She was a small woman with gray hair, but she stood straight and proud. "We come in peace, Warprime. Our weapons are for defense only. We hope to make friends, not enemies." The 3 alien leaders looked at each other. Some made sounds that might have been laughter. "Friends?" said Logic Core Prime 7 in a voice like a computer. friendship is inefficient. Species survive through strength and logic. What resources do you offer? What territories do you control? What can you buy and sell? Added Trade Master Vex, his small eyes glittering. Show us your wealth, humans. Admiral Carter remained calm. We offer knowledge, friendship, and help to those who need it. Earth has many resources, but we believe sharing makes everyone stronger. War Prime Gazak slammed his fist on his chair. Sharing is weakness. The strong take what they need. The weak serve or die. Which are you, humans? Before Admiral Carter could answer, an alarm began to sound throughout the station. Red lights flashed, and a voice spoke in many languages. Coordinator Zix's 4 arms moved quickly over a control panel. His blue face turned pale. There's been an accident at Mining Colony 7. A plague has broken out. The workers are dying. Right. Them off, said Trade Master Vex, without looking up from his coins. Mining colonies are cheap to replace. Agreed, said Logicor Prime 7. Saving the colony would cost more than the minerals it produces. War Prime Gazak showed his sharp teeth. Let the weak die. It makes room for the strong. Admiral Carter looked shocked. How many people live on that colony? About 50,000, said Coordinator Zix sadly. Mostly families. Children? Children? Admiral Carter turned to the alien leaders. You're just going to let children die? They are not our children, said Logicor Prime 7. Therefore, they are not our concern. Admiral Carter looked at Jake. He knew that look. It meant she had made a decision that would change everything. Coordinator Zix, she said clearly, please give us the location of Mining Colony 7. Earth's medical teams will help those people. The council chamber became very quiet. Hundreds of alien eyes stared at the small group of humans. War Prime Gazak leaned forward. You would risk your ships and people to save strangers? Aliens you have never met? Yes, said Admiral Carter simply. It's the right thing to do. The 3 leaders whispered among themselves in their own languages. Finally, War Prime Gazak spoke again. You are either very brave or very stupid, humans. We will watch to see which one is true. As they left the council chamber, Jake heard the alien leaders talking behind them. Their voices were full of confusion and something that sounded like fear. They had expected humans to be like them, focused on power, profit, and survival. Instead, they had met something new. Something that valued life over everything else. The galaxy was about to learn what that meant. Dr. Amy Rodriguez looked through the telescope at the horror unfolding in the Tau sector. 7 worlds were burning. The Kethver swarm had arrived 3 days ago, and they were destroying everything in their path. How many people lived on those planets? Asked her assistant, Dr. Bill Chun. 7 billion, Amy said quietly. Farmers, mostly. Families who grew food for half the galaxy. The Kethvar were unlike anything the galaxy had seen before. They looked like giant insects, 12 feet tall with 4 arms and razor-sharp claws. Their ships were alive, grown rather than built. When they landed on a planet, they consumed everything, plants, animals, people, even the soil itself. Amy's team was aboard the research vessel Discovery, along with 50 other human ships. They had rushed to the Tau sector as soon as the distress calls began. The Galactic Council had also sent ships, but they stayed far away from the fighting. Commander Ryan Brooks called a meeting in the main conference room. He was a big man with kind eyes and calloused hands. Before joining the space fleet, he had been a rescue worker on Earth. The situation is bad, he began. The Kethvar have taken 4 worlds completely. 3 more are under attack. The Council. Fleets are pulling back to defend more important systems. Important? Asked Captain Nicole Davis. She commanded the hospital ship Mercy. What's more important than 7 billion lives? The Zentari have their computer factories in the next sector, Ryan explained. The Vorthik have military bases. There, the Krell have trade routes to protect. They're writing off the Tau sector as a total loss. Dr. Amy Rodriguez had been studying the Kethfor for weeks. Something about their behavior puzzled her. I don't think they're just monsters, she said. Look at this data. She showed the room images from the attacking ships. See how they're taking the food crops first? And the livestock? They're not destroying for fun. They're harvesting. But look at their own ships. The bioscans show massive areas of decay and death. Engineer Chief Bobby Stone leaned forward. He was a thin man who could fix anything. What are you thinking, Doc? I think they're starving, Amy said. All of them. Their ships are dying. They're not invading. They're trying to survive. The room fell silent. Finally, Captain Nicole spoke. Even if that's true, they're still killing billions of people. Yes, Amy agreed, but maybe we can find another way. Commander Ryan looked around the room. What do you need? Time, Amy said, and a way to communicate with them. I need to study their biology, their language, their culture. There has to be a reason they're so desperate. I'll get you whatever you need, Ryan promised. But we can't wait long. People are dying every minute. While Amy worked with her team, Captain Nicole took the Mercy and 3 other hospital ships directly into the war zone. The Galactic Council had forbidden any rescue operations, calling them strategically unsound. The humans ignored the order. The first planet they reached was called New Eden. It had been a farming world with beautiful green fields and small towns. Now, smoke rose from burning cities. Kethfor ships moved across the surface like metal insects, consuming everything. There, pointed Captain Nicole's pilot, Lieutenant Jenny Walsh. Refugee camps in the northern mountains. Looks like about 20,000 survivors. Take us down, Nicole ordered. Emergency landing protocols. The Mercy landed in a valley near the refugee camps. Immediately, the medical teams began working. Dr. Patricia Wong treated children with radiation burns. Nurse manager Sam Tucker organized food distribution. Engineer Lisa Martinez set up power generators and water purifiers. But the Kethfor ships were getting closer. The survivors were terrified. Many had seen their families consumed by the alien invaders. They're coming, screamed a farmer named Paul Anderson. We have to run. No, said Captain Nicole calmly. We're not leaving anyone behind. Sam, get the children into the medical bay. Patricia, prep the trauma units. Lisa, I need shields at maximum power. The first Kethfor ship appeared over the mountains. It was huge and black, covered in spikes and weapons. Instead of attacking immediately, it circled the human ships like a curious animal. More Kethfor ships arrived. Soon 12 of them surrounded the small human fleet. The refugees cried and prayed in dozens of languages. Then something strange happened. The Kethfor ships did not attack. They just waited. Why aren't they shooting? Asked Lieutenant Jenny. I don't know, Nicole replied. But I'm not giving up on these people. Back on the Discovery, Dr. Amy made a breakthrough. She had been studying Kethfor communication signals for days. Finally, her computer found a pattern. They're not just talking to each other, she told Commander Ryan. They're singing. It's a song of pain and loss. Listen to this. The Alien. Music was beautiful and terrible. It spoke of worlds dying, children starving, and an entire species facing extinction. Their home system is poisoned, Amy explained. Something called quantum cascade failure. It's killing their food sources, their breeding grounds, everything. They've been dying for 50 years. So they decided to take what they need from others, Ryan said grimly. They're desperate, Amy replied. When you're watching your children die, you'll do anything to save them. Ryan was quiet for a long moment. Then he activated the ship's communication system. All human ships, this is Commander Brooks. We're changing our mission. We're not just here to rescue the survivors. We're here to save everyone, including the Kethvar. The response was immediate. Dozens of human voices spoke at once. Sir, they're killers. They've murdered billions. How can we help them? Ryan waited for quiet, then spoke again, because that's what humans do. We help people who are hurting, even when they hurt us first. Dr. Rodriguez, how long would it take to develop a solution for the quantum poisoning? Months, maybe years, Amy replied. And I'd need to get close to their ships to study the problem properly. Then that's what we'll do, Ryan decided. All ships, prepare for the most dangerous rescue mission in human history. We're going to save 2 species today. On the surface of New Eden, Captain Nicole watched the Kethvar ships through her binoculars. They were still waiting, still watching. Something had changed in their behavior since the human ships arrived. Captain, called Dr. Patricia from the medical tent. You need to see this, Nicole hurried over. Patricia was treating a wounded alien, not human, but not Kethvar either. It was one of the local farmers, a species with gray skin and large eyes. He says something strange, Patricia explained. The Kethvar didn't kill him. They they gave him food. Nicole stared. What? The farmer spoke in broken galactic common. Big bugs scary. But when they saw my children crying they gave us food. Real food, not the processed stuff from the cities. They looked sad. Nicole looked back at the Kethvar ships. Slowly, she began to understand. These weren't monsters. They were parents, trying to feed their own children. That night, she made a decision that would change everything. She walked out of the medical camp alone, carrying a white flag and a bag of medical supplies. Behind her, her crew watched in terror as she approached the nearest Kethvar ship. The ship's door opened with a sound like breaking glass. A massive Kethvar warrior stepped out, its claws gleaming in the moonlight. Nicole held up the medical supplies and spoke clearly. My name is Nicole Davis. I'm a doctor. I want to help your people. The Kethvar stared at her for a long moment. Then, slowly, it knelt down and began to cry. The sound was like nothing Nicole had ever heard. The voice of an entire species in pain. The emergency meeting on Haven Point was chaos. Representatives from dozens of worlds shouted at each other in the council chamber. War Prime Gazak's voice rose above the others. The Kethvar have a planet-killer weapon. He roared, intelligence. Reports confirm it. One ship can destroy entire solar systems. Logic Core Prime 7 stood perfectly still while data flowed across the screen behind him. Threat assessment complete. The Kethvar Queen Prime has gone insane from starvation. She will use the weapon rather than watch her species die slowly. Trademaster Vex counted rapidly on his fingers. The economic damage would be catastrophic. 12 major trade routes would be destroyed. Trillions of credits lost. In the back of the chamber, Admiral Lisa Carter sat with her small human delegation. She had been listening to the debate for 3 hours. The aliens were talking about genocide like it was a business decision. The solution is obvious, announced General Thulvek of the Vorthic military. He was even bigger than War Prime Gazak, with fresh battle scars on his armor. We destroy the Kethvar before they can use their weapon. Complete extermination. Many voices agreed. The Zentari calculated odds. The Krell counted profits. The Vorthic sharpened their weapons. Admiral Carter stood up. There's another way. The chamber became quiet. All eyes turned to the small human woman. Dr. Carlos Mendez and his team have found a solution, she continued. We can clean the quantum poisoning from the Kethver home system. We can save them without anyone dying. War Prime Gazak laughed, showing his sharp teeth. Impossible. Queen Prime's ship is surrounded by the entire Kethver fleet. No one can get close enough. We can try, Admiral Carter said simply. Try? Logic Core Prime 7's black eyes showed no emotion. You would risk your ships and crews on a probability of less than 0.3% success? Yes, Carter replied. Because it's the right thing to do. General Tholvek stood up, his armor clanking. The Galactic Military Command has voted. We will destroy the Kethver in 72 hours. All species will contribute ships and weapons. All species except humanity, Admiral Carter said firmly. We will not be part of genocide. The chamber erupted in angry voices. Some aliens called the humans cowards. Others called them fools. War Prime Gazak slammed his fist on his chair. Then you will die with them. He snarled. Any ship that interferes with our attack will be destroyed. Admiral Carter nodded calmly. We understand. As the humans left the chamber, they could hear the alien leaders planning their attack. Ships would come from across the galaxy. The largest military force in galactic history would destroy the Keth-4 and their planet-killer weapon. On the human ship Meridian, Captain Jake Miller called Earth on a long-range communicator. The message would take 6 hours to reach home and 6 hours for a reply. This is Captain Miller reporting to Earth Command, he said. The Galactic Council has ordered us to participate in the complete destruction of the Kethver species. Admiral Carter has refused. They've given us 72 hours to change our minds or be destroyed, along with the Kethver. He paused, looking at his crew. They were scared but determined. We're going to try to save them, he continued. All of them. We know the odds are bad. We know we might not come home. But we're going to try anyway, because that's what humans do. The reply from Earth came 12 hours later. It was from President Ellen Murphy herself. Captain Miller, this is the President. The people of Earth have voted. We're sending every ship we have. Every doctor, every engineer, every teacher who wants to help. You won't face this alone. Jake felt tears in his eyes. Copy that, Madam President. We'll make you proud. But it wasn't just the military ships that came. When the news spread across Earth, ordinary people volunteered. Janet Foster was a school teacher from Ohio. She had never been in space before, but she learned to pilot a medical transport. Sam Tucker was a farmer from Kansas. He loaded his ship with seeds and farming equipment. Mary Johnson was a grandmother from Texas. She brought toys and games for alien children. Dr. Carlos Mendez worked day and night on the quantum cleaning device. It was the size of a small building and needed to be placed inside the Kethvar Queen Prime ship. The power requirements were enormous. It will work, he told Admiral Carter. But someone has to get it to the Queen. Someone has to convince her to let us help. I'll go, said Dr. Patricia Wong. She was a small woman with gentle eyes. She studied alien minds and how they worked. Patricia, it's suicide, Admiral Carter said. The Queen Prime is insane. She might kill you on sight. She might, Patricia agreed, but she might also listen. I've been studying the Kethver language and culture. They value mothers above everything else. They would do anything to save their children. Admiral Carter looked around the room at her officers. Captain Jake Miller nodded. Commander Ryan Brooks smiled grimly. Captain Nicole Davis, who had been working with Kethver refugees for weeks, stepped forward. I'll go with Patricia, Nicole said. Some of the Kethver know me now. They trust me. And me, added Dr. Amy Rodriguez. I understand their biology. I might be able to help with the medical side. Soon, Half the human officers had volunteered for the suicide mission. Admiral Carter had to order most of them to stay behind. The plan was simple. A small team would approach the Queen Prime's ship with the quantum cleaning device. They would try to talk to her, convince her to let them help. While they worked, the rest of the human fleet would protect them from the approaching Galactic. Armada Dot, it was the worst plan in military history. Everyone knew it wouldn't work. They did it anyway. As the human ships approached the Kethver fleet, long-range sensors picked up the Galactic Armada. Over 3,000 ships from dozens of worlds, all armed with planet-killing weapons. General Thulvek commanded from his flagship, a massive battleship called Death's Glory. "Attention human ships," came his voice over the radio. "You have one final chance to withdraw. Leave now, or be destroyed with the aliens." Admiral Carter's reply was broadcast across the galaxy. "General Thulvek, this is Admiral Carter. We're not leaving. These people need help, and we're going to help them." On countless worlds, billions of beings watched the confrontation on their screens. They saw the small human fleet, barely 200 ships, facing the greatest military force in galactic history. They saw humans who chose to die rather than let others suffer. Some aliens laughed at human foolishness. Others began to ask uncomfortable questions. If humans could risk everything for strangers, why couldn't their own governments help their own people? The Battle of Tau Sector was about to begin. But it wouldn't be the kind of battle anyone expected. Dr. Patricia Wong checked her equipment one last time as her small ship approached the Queen Prime's vessel. Behind her, the human fleet spread out in a protective formation. Ahead, the massive Kethver ship waited like a sleeping giant. "Queen Prime," Patricia broadcast in the Kethver language. "My name is Patricia Wong. I am a human doctor. I have come to help your children." For a long moment, there was only silence. Then the Queen Prime's ship opened its doors. Patricia took a deep breath and flew inside, carrying humanity's hope with her. Inside the Queen Prime's ship, Dr. Patricia Wong had never seen anything so beautiful or so sad. The walls were alive, growing like a forest of crystal and metal. Soft light flowed through everything like water, but the ship was dying. Large sections were gray and crumbling. The air smelled of decay and loss. Kethver warriors surrounded Patricia as she walked through the corridors. They were 12 feet tall with razor claws, but they moved carefully around her. Their large eyes showed curiosity and fear. "Take me to your queen," Patricia said in their language. "I want to help." The Queen Prime's chamber was at the heart of the ship. It was a vast space filled with thousands of eggs. Most of them were dark and cold, dead. The Queen Prime herself was enormous, nearly 20 feet long, with 4 arms and beautiful silver wings. But she was starving. Her skin was pale, and her eyes were full of pain. "Human," the Queen Prime said. Her voice was like music and thunder together. "You have come to watch us die?" "No," Patricia replied, stepping closer. "I've come to save you." The Queen laughed, but it was a sound of pure agony. "Save us? Look around you, small human. Look at my children." Patricia looked at the thousands of dead eggs. Each one had been a baby that would never be born. The grief hit her like a physical blow. "I see them," she whispered. "I'm so sorry." "Sorry?" The Queen's voice rose to a roar. "Your people offer sorry while mine starve? The galaxy watches us die and calls it justice." "Not all of us," Patricia said firmly. "Some of us want to help. Dr. Carlos Mendez has found a way to clean the poison from your home worlds. We can save your people." The Queen Prime stared at her with huge, intelligent eyes. "Why? Why would you help us? We have taken your people's food. We have killed to feed our young." Patricia thought of her own daughter back on Earth, a little girl with bright eyes and a love of butterflies. What would she do if that child was starving? Because you're mothers, she said simply. You're trying to save your children. Any mother would do the same. The queen was quiet for a long moment. Then she began to sing, a low, mournful sound that filled the chamber. Other Kethfer joined in, their voices blending together. It is the song of endings, the queen explained. We sing it when hope dies. Then let me give you a new song, Patricia said. She activated her communicator. Dr. Mendez, are you ready? Carlos. Mendez was waiting on the human ship Discovery with his quantum cleaning device. It looked like a metal tree covered in glowing crystals. Ready, Patricia? He replied. But I need to install it in the Queen's ship. The device has to be connected to their biosystems. Patricia looked at the Queen Prime. Will you let us try? The Queen studied her for a long time. Around them, the ship's heartbeat grew weaker. If I say yes, the Queen said slowly, and your device fails, we will all die anyway. But if I use our planet-killer weapon, at least the galaxy will remember that we existed. If you use that weapon, billions of innocent people will die, Patricia said. Children who never hurt anyone. Mothers. Like you. And if I don't use it, my children die forgotten. Patricia felt tears on her cheeks. No. If you let us help, and we succeed, your children will be remembered as the species that chose peace over revenge. They'll be remembered as heroes. Outside, the Queen's ship, the Galactic Armada, was getting closer. General Thulvik's voice echoed across space. Final warning to all human ships. Withdraw immediately or face destruction. Admiral Carter's response was calm and clear. Negative, General. We're not leaving our friends. The first shots were fired an hour later. But they weren't fired by the humans Captain Steve Phillips commanded. The escort ship Defender. When 3 Vorthic attack ships broke formation and charged toward the Queen's vessel, he placed his ship directly in their path. This is Captain Phillips, he broadcast on all frequencies. Any ship that attacks the Kethver will go through us first. The Vorthic ships opened fire. Steve's ship was small and lightly armed, but his crew fought with desperate courage. Engineer Chief Mike Davis kept the shields running even as explosions rocked the ship. Weapons Officer Lisa Park returned fire with everything they had. The Defender was destroyed in minutes, but other human ships immediately took its place. Teacher-turned-pilot Janet Foster brought her medical transport alongside a Kethver cruiser, using her ship as a shield. Farmer Sam Tucker, who had never fired a weapon in his life, positioned his supply ship between the Queen and the attacking fleet. Across the galaxy, billions of beings watched as humans died to protect their enemies. The images were broadcast on every world, every station, every ship. On the Vorthic homeworld, a young warrior named Ket watched his comrades attack the human ships. He had been taught that strength was everything, that the weak deserved to die. But the humans were weak, and they were dying to save others. Why? He asked his commander. Why do they do this? The commander had no answer. Neither did anyone else. On Zentre Prime, Logic Core Prime 7 received reports that made no sense. Individual Zentre were refusing orders. They were asking questions about emotions, about caring for others. The perfect logical society was developing cracks. On Krell, workers were laying down their tools. For the first time in centuries, they were asking why they worked so hard while their leaders grew rich. The economic system was beginning to collapse. Inside the Queen's ship, Dr. Carlos Mendez worked frantically to install his device. Kethver engineers helped him, their forearms moving in perfect coordination. The quantum cleaning system was incredibly complex, but both species worked together like they had done it for years. It's working, Carlos reported to Patricia. The device is connecting to their biosystems, but it will take time. Maybe hours, Outside, the human fleet was being destroyed ship by ship. They were outnumbered 15-1, outgunned by weapons they had never seen before, but they didn't retreat. Every time a human ship was destroyed, another one took its place. Captain Nicole Davis brought the hospital ship Mercy into the battle. It had no weapons, only medical equipment and supplies. But when a damaged Kethver ship was about to be destroyed, Nicole positioned her ship between it and the attacking fleet. "You want to kill them?" she broadcast to the aliens. "You'll have to kill us first." The alien commanders were confused. This wasn't how wars were supposed to work. Enemies were supposed to fight back, not sacrifice themselves for each other. The worst shock came from their own crews. Across the galactic fleet, soldiers were refusing orders. Vorthic warriors were asking why they were killing people who wouldn't fight back. Zentre technicians were questioning the logic of destroying those who showed mercy. Even Krell accountants were wondering about the cost of so much death. General Tholvek watched his perfect military machine falling apart. "All ships, focus fire on the Queen's vessel. Destroy it now." But as the alien fleet prepared for the final attack, something impossible happened. The Queen Prime ship began to glow. The quantum cleaning device was working. 50 years of poison were being washed away. The dying sections of the ship started to heal. And then the Queen began to sing. Not the song of endings, but something new. Something full of hope and gratitude. One by one, every Kethver ship joined the song. The sound filled space itself, reaching every ship in the Armada. It was the song of new beginnings. And for the first time in galactic history, other species began to sing along. The war was ending, but not with victory. It was ending with something far more powerful: understanding. 6 months after the Battle of Tau Sector, the galaxy was no longer the same place. Ambassador Maria Santos walked through the corridors of Haven Point, but now they looked different. The walls were covered with artwork from dozens of worlds. Children of many species played together in the parks. The air smelled of flowers instead of metal and fear. "Hard to believe this is the same station," said Captain Ben Taylor, walking beside her. He was a quiet man who had commanded a supply ship during the battle. Now he was Earth's chief of diplomatic security. "The Kethver bioengineers did amazing work," Maria replied. "They've turned this place into a living garden." They passed a group of young Vorthic warriors talking with human teachers. The aliens were learning about art and music instead of fighting. Their weapons had been replaced with paintbrushes and musical instruments. "Any word from the outer systems?" Ben asked. Maria smiled. "The rebellion is spreading faster than we expected. The Zentari collective is completely broken. Individual Zentari are forming their own governments based on emotions and personal freedom. The Krell economic system collapsed last month when the workers demanded fair wages. They reached the main conference room where the new Galactic Council was meeting. It was smaller than the old one, but much more crowded. Representatives from hundreds of worlds sat together, including many species that had never been allowed to speak before. The Kethver Queen Prime was there, but she looked completely different. Her silver wings were bright and healthy. Her eyes were clear and full of wisdom. She had taken the name Hope Singer, and her people now called themselves the Healed Collective. "The food production reports from the restored worlds are excellent," Hope Singer was saying. "Our biotechnology has increased crop yields by 300%. We can feed twice as many people as before." A small, gray-skinned alien from a mining colonies raised his hand. Before the humans came, his people had never been allowed to speak in the council. Now he was the elected representative for all mining workers. "What about the safety protocols?" he asked. "The old bosses used to make us work in dangerous conditions." Dr. Helen Clark, Earth's new chief medical officer, stood up. She was a young woman who had volunteered to help set up medical stations across the galaxy. Every workplace now has human safety standards, she said. No one works in dangerous conditions. Anymore, if someone gets hurt, they get full medical care, not just repairs to keep them working. War Prime Gazak watched from the back of the room. He was no longer War Prime. That title had been abolished. Now he was simply Gazak, and he worked as a construction supervisor, helping to rebuild the worlds damaged in the old wars. He still didn't fully understand humans, but he had learned to respect them. They had done something no other species had ever managed. They had changed the galaxy without conquering it. The rebellion reports are troubling, said a Zentari woman named 7 of Blue. She had been Logicore Prime 7, but she had chosen a name and learned to feel emotions. The old governments are fighting back. They're calling us traitors and criminals. Let them call us whatever they want, said a Krull worker named Copperhands. He had been a slave in the mines for 30 years. Now he owned his own small business, making art from recycled metals. We're free now. That's what matters. Ambassador Maria Santos listened to the discussion with pride. The old galaxy had been based on fear, greed, and power. This new one was built on cooperation, fairness, and hope. But she knew the old ways wouldn't die easily. We have a problem, announced Captain Jake Miller as he entered the room. His face was serious. Long-range scanners have detected a massive fleet approaching from the core systems. It's Emperor Admiral Vashtar with what's left of the old Vorthok Empire. The room became quiet. Everyone knew Vashtar's reputation. He was the most feared military commander in galactic history. Unlike other Vorthok, he had never accepted the new ways. He still believed that strength was the only thing that mattered. How many ships? Asked Hope Singer. Over 500, Jake replied, all armed with planet-killer weapons. He's calling it the Final Crusade to restore the old order. Fear rippled through the room. The new governments had few military ships. Most of their resources went to building hospitals, schools, and farms. They had chosen growth over weapons. What does he want? Asked 7-of-Blue. Jake activated a holographic display. Vashtar's scarred face appeared, his eyes burning with hatred. People of the galaxy, the Emperor Admiral's voice boomed. You have been infected with a disease called kindness. This weakness spreads from world to world, destroying everything that made us strong. The humans have poisoned your minds with their pathetic ideas about caring for others. He paused, his claws scraping against his command chair. I offer you one chance to return to the old ways. Surrender now, execute the human leaders, and return to your proper places as slaves and servants. Refuse, and I will destroy every world. That has accepted this human madness. The hologram flickered and died. The room was silent. Finally, a small voice spoke up. It was a child, a young Zentari girl who had been born after the changes began. She didn't remember the old ways of fear and control. Why is he so angry? She asked. We're happy now. We have enough food and safe places to live. Why does he want to change that? Her question hung in the air. Why indeed? Ambassador Maria Santos stood up slowly. Because, she said, he's afraid. Afraid? Asked Gazak. Vashtar fears nothing. He's afraid of becoming unimportant, Maria explained. In the old galaxy, people like him had all the power because everyone else was afraid. But we're not afraid anymore. We don't need someone to protect us from each other, because we protect each other. She looked around the room at the faces of dozens of species, former enemies who had become friends. He's not just attacking our planets, she continued. He's attacking an idea. The idea that people can choose kindness over cruelty, cooperation over competition, love over fear. Hope Singer rose to her full height, her wings spreading wide. Then we will defend that idea with our lives. As will we, said Seven of Blue, speaking for the Freeze Entry. And us, added Copper Hands for the Krell workers. One by one, every representative stood up. They had no weapons to match Vushtar's fleet, but they had something more powerful. They had each other. Captain Ben Taylor stepped forward. There's something else you should know. The fleet isn't just coming here. According to our intelligence, Vashtar plans to destroy Earth first. He wants to eliminate the source of the infection before dealing with the rest of us. The room erupted in angry voices. Earth was where it all began. Earth was the home of the people who had changed everything. How long do we have? Asked Maria. 72 hours, Ben replied. Maria nodded. It was the same amount of time the old council had given them before the Battle of Tau Sector. History was repeating itself, but this time things were different. Send a message to every world, every station, every ship, she ordered. Tell them what's happening. Ask for volunteers. Volunteers for what? Asked Gazak. Maria smiled, and for a moment she looked exactly like Admiral Carter had 6 months ago. To show Vashtar that kindness really is more devastating than any weapon. The response was immediate and overwhelming. From across the galaxy, ships began moving toward Earth. Not military vessels, but hospital ships, supply transports, passenger liners, even private family ships. Millions of beings who had learned what freedom felt like were willing to die to protect it. They came from the Kethver worlds, their bioships growing weapons of healing instead of destruction. They came from the former Zentre systems, each pilot choosing their own mission instead of following orders. They came from Krell space, workers who had bought their own ships with wages they had earned fairly. But most surprising of all, they came from Vorthic space itself. Young warriors who had learned to build instead of destroy. Veterans who were tired of fighting. Even some of Vashtar's own officers, who had seen what the galaxy could become. The largest fleet in galactic history assembled around Earth. But it wasn't there to fight a war. It was there to defend a dream. When Vashtar's fleet arrived, they found something they had never seen before. An enemy that refused to be an enemy. Emperor Admiral, came a broadcast from the human ship New Hope. Captain Ben Taylor's voice was calm and respectful. Welcome to Earth. We have medical facilities standing by if any of your crew need treatment. We have food and supplies if you're running low. You're welcome to stay for as long as you like. Vashtar stared at his view screen. In disbelief. He had expected defiance, military formations, threats and challenges. Instead, he found kindness. This is Emperor Admiral Vashtar of the Vorthic Empire. He roared, surrender immediately or face total annihilation. We understand you're upset, Ben replied. Change is hard, especially when you've lived one way for a long time. But you don't have to be our enemy. There's room in this galaxy for everyone. Around Vashtar's flagship, his own fleet began to waver. His captains had been trained to fight enemies, not to destroy people who offered them medical care. Sir, said his second-in-command, a young officer named Vector. The crew was asking, why are we attacking people who want to help us? Because they're weak, Vashtar snarled. Weakness is a disease that must be burned out. But even as he spoke, he could see the D.